Jets talk that there's as many as 8 teams that have rang up and inquired about what the price would be for Sam Darnold. Steve, the Jets are obviously picking at number 2 in the draft. Obviously, a lot of people will say, that they stupidly won games at the back end of last year when Trevor Lawrence was very much in play and they won those 2 end-of-season games. Let's assume Trevor Lawrence is off the board, unless the Jaguars really surprise everybody. They're obviously going to have quarterbacks in play potentially. They've got Darnold on the roster. What would you do if you were the GM in that situation?
So I think if I'm Joe Douglas, I think I'm taking a quarterback. I think the situation is too good for them not to do it. The guys that are going to be available, the likes of Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, are both really good players. They've got great metrics. They're athletic. They're good passes. They're accurate, and they can run with the ball. They're a complete package. Yes, they're young, and obviously they're rookies, and they're going to take some bedding into a team. But if you're giving a new head coach his new weapon, I think it's too good to be true. And I think the main reason I say that is because of the draft situation that New York is in this year. They already have 2 first rounders this year, and obviously their own second. If they can trade Sam Darnold and maybe pick up a second, I think a second is probably a fair compensation for him, maybe a high level third. If they get a second, they'd have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds, which is an amazing amount of draft capital to be able to pump in. You take let's say Zach Wilson. I don't know if they're going to pick him, but let's say they take him. You've then got 3 further picks before the second round finishes, so then load them up with talent. And let's not forget they've got a huge amount of cap space as well. So I think they roll the dice again. I don't think Darnold is good enough to warrant them gambling on him. The league is transforming into this. The NFL that we see nowadays, where to win, to go all the way, you have to have a top 5 to 10 quarterback. It just doesn't happen without it. And teams are proving it time and time again that if you don't have that top 5 to 10 guy, you're just not going to you're not going to go all the way. And I think teams are now more and more starting to realize that if they don't have a top 5 or 10 guy, or can that guy get to that level? No, they're going to get him out of the building and they're going to roll the dice again. And it's happening more and more often. You look at Carson Wentz has been traded, Jared Goff has been traded. The Seahawks are thinking about Russell Wilson if reports are to be believed. The same with Deshaun Watson. Like, it looks like no QB safe anymore unless they are that top tier QB. So yeah, I would roll the dice. I would take Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, roll the dice, start again, and see if you can get Darnold out of the building.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's one of those that I think there are just probably a few more QB, I wouldn't say necessarily needy, but certainly QB teams that potentially are more ready to pull the trigger on a QB early. I mean, I think sort of somewhere in the 6 to 9 spot of the draft is almost the sort of sweet spot. And, you got the Eagles there, and now they've obviously got... they only picked up second round quarterback last year, and you'd think that they're probably going to roll the dice there and see what they've got. But obviously, then Detroit, is there really an affection to Jared Goff, or is that really just part of a trade to get Stafford out of there? The Panthers are the one that really scream out trade potential at 8. I think it's pretty much certain that Teddy Bridgewater was not the starter there in the eyes of Matt Rule. Could they move up from 8 to 2 potentially? You could be talking first round pick, obviously this year, next year. Potentially you could be getting some second or third rounders added onto that as well. And I don't think it stops the Jets then potentially picking up a quarterback in that range. It could well be that the draft plays out that they end up, and Justin Fields, for example, still might be there at number 8 in the draft, depending on the way that it falls out. I just think it's one of those strange ones, really, that I think you could make a convincing argument either way. Tim just flashed Darnold's career stats up, and let's be honest, they're not particularly great, are they? 60% completion on his passes, just a shade under, pretty much a 1-for-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's certainly not been anything near the prospect that people thought he was going to be coming out of the draft. A lot of people had him as the number 1 QB in that class. That class, if you remember back, had got Mayfield, Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Lamar Jackson. All 5 of those guys went in the first round. And obviously, Josh Rosen aside, out the other 4, Darnold, you would probably rank as number 4 out of those guys. I don't think there's any doubt about that in terms of what they've delivered so far. But he is still only young. I think he gets a little bit of a free pass because of the lack of talent around him. But obviously, Robert Salah's coming in. He's very much a defensive guy. I just think that's for me the reason that it's difficult to really put a handle on this. If it was an offensive-minded coach, then I think potentially the writing would definitely be on the wall. I think the fact that it's a guy that specialises on the defensive side of the ball might be the thing that saves Sam Darnold in year one, while Robert Saleh looks more at putting his defensive pieces together. That could be the reason that it ends up as it is.
It kind of smells like Josh Rosen 2.0, doesn't it, with the Jets at 2? But just for me, though, if you're the Carolina Panthers, just for now, they're just thinking outside my head. If you've got pick 39, do you send that to the Jets for Sam Darnold?
I think it's certainly a good idea. Is Sam Darnold another Teddy Bridgewater though?
Possibly.
Into the point I just made, is he good enough to take the Panthers to the next level, or is that just another bridge gap for 1 year until they get another roll of dice at someone better? So, whoever wants to pick up Darnold, and Sean, you said that several teams have been calling about him. Whether or not that's to be believed, I don't know, but. If whoever picks him up, be it the Bears, be it Carolina, they've got to be thinking that yes, there's definitely someone there who just haven't had the roll of the dice in New York, hasn't had the receivers or the pieces around him.
I think the Jets stay. I think the Jets trade back from 2. I think they'll keep Sam Darnold purely because, yes, they've got a lot of cap, and similar to the Jags, they can just roll it all over to next year. They're not going to be a good competing team next year. So have another top 5 pick next year. Then you can do what you want, moving up and getting the guy you want. Who's to say that we don't know who the QBs, what they're going to look like a year from now? But I just think that again, it's dependent on what the teams like Carolina or maybe Washington might want to do and give them to trade up. I just think there's too many holes on that Jets squad, and Salah, like I say, he can with a plethora of picks can mold it to however he wants to run his defense. And again, to Sean's point, I think because he is a defensive coach, I think they'll give Darnold a year to see what he's got, and say he's used to working with a crap QB in San Francisco, so I couldn't help it.
Couldn't help it.
So I think they'll roll with Darnold. I don't think they'll get back for him what they want. Say if you're Carolina or if you're someone picking early in the first round, why not? Try even if you're Washington, just try and do a deal where maybe you give away pick 22 or whatever it is, and then get some seconds back, or work it out and you can get Darnold that way if they want Darnold. But if I'm the Jets, I'm not selling Darnold purely on the fact that I'm not getting my return on investment that I feel probably that he should be getting, but he's not showing it on the field. I mean, those stats that I showed, he had 1,800 yards last year. Dak Prescott played 5 games and literally nearly had as many as he did, or even maybe had more. It's just mind-boggling. But yeah, it's a shame really, but it happens. Not every QB, like Steve said in the Dak Prescott draft class, they're not all good. You know what I mean? They don't all transfer over. So. But fascinating to see.
I guess just quickly, I guess it depends on what they think of the QBs that are going to be there. Do they like Zach Wilson? Do they like Justin Fields, or maybe even Trey Lance? If they think that one of those guys is the guy, then they'll take him. You have to, because I mean, maybe New York Jets are a bit different, but you're not always in the spot where you can pick a second in the draft. So if you're there and you can take him, you take him. But eventually, on the flip side of that, eventually you've got to stop picking QBs. How many QBs have the Jets picked in the last 10 years in the draft? You've got to stop picking them eventually,
Yeah.